Hello, everyone. Hello, Zena. How
Hello.
are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Hello, everyone. We're here on episode 8 of Life of a Seer, and I'm really excited to have my guests today. Mark abandoned me, so he decided to go to Fiji. So I don't feel sorry for him, but I am missing him. But I decided that I would bring one of my favorite people, Zena Glass. So she's here with us today, and um, how are you, Zena? Welcome.
I'm good. Thank you, Malvina.
Yes, the reason why we have her on the show is, as you guys know, we're talking about the life of a seer. This is a podcast that we've created. Mark and I have been talking about the different challenges and the issues that seers and prophetic people have in the current times. You know, we have a younger generation having dreams and visions. It's kind of like a Joel 2 generation, and we're trying to create a format, a place, a connection, a community for people to know where to go, who to share, what to talk, and also learn about the challenges that people have as a seer. So I thought having Zena today, who is one of, like I said earlier, she's one of my favorite seers, share about her personal experience, it will be really helpful. So, Zena, one thing I wanted, but sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh no, I wasn't gonna say.
Okay, yeah, we have a little bit of a background noise, but we'll deal with it. We have our technicians working on it. So, one of the things that I wanted to ask Zena is, did you know you were a seer um, prior to us starting to talk and interact?
No, I didn't. The only thing that I knew was that I just knew that I knew things when they were in front of me, and I knew that God was speaking to me through dreams. But I thought a seer was somebody who saw things with their eyes, like visions. I didn't know that your feelings could help you see. No, I did not know that's what I was.
Yeah. And do you recall as a child in your experiences, did things happen to you? Do you have experiences where you know you saw something and no one acknowledged it or knew about it, or it was really frustrating because you knew it was happening but no one did anything or something like that?
Not so much. I do remember being really fascinated with dreams.
Yes.
And um but I didn't understand any of it.
Yes, and I jumped into the questions, but one thing I wanted to mention about Zena, lovely, she's lovely, and I've seen her grown so much in the past. How long has it been? I can't remember.
6 or 7 months.
6 or 7 months. So I love the fact that she a beautiful gift. So as a seer, I'm going to try to describe her from my end. The way she sees is with her dreams. In the last episode that we did, Mark and I, we talked about dreaming and symbolism and the context of dreams and how to interpret your dreams and many tools that we could use. But for Zena, her dreams became probably that thing that challenged her. You know, I may not say torment. She may want to add to that, but there were dreams that really puzzled her, and she knew they have a meaning, but couldn't figure it out or get to the. Here goes my alarm. Uh, so can you talk a little bit about that? Like when we first met, why did you come to me? I guess is the question.
I actually came to you because I would have dreams, and I had friends who were prophetic and gifted, but they to them it didn't sound like they were from God, but I knew they were. And they couldn't help me and interpret them, so I kept trying to interpret them, and so I would try to bounce it off of them, and then they didn't think they were from God. And so I got really desperate. A friend told me about you, and it maybe took me 2 or 3 years to actually call you.
Yeah.
I got that
And
desperate.
yeah, and that's usually the case, people have to be desperate because we all question like why this person is talking about this and everybody in the church is not, or it's not something, there's a lot of fear of getting involved in the wrong thing with the wrong person. So that's another thing as seers that we struggle with, which is who can I trust? Who can I talk about these very personal things that are happening in my life in these dreams? Sometimes your dreams, before the show, she and I were talking about, I had a call this weekend of a young girl, a very intimate dream. Who is she going to share that with? Is she going to share that with the rest of the kids? They're going to talk about it. People think something is wrong with you. Like you said, the interpretation in the prophetic community, if it's not good, must be the devil, and in one of the episodes I used John the Apostle as the example. If John the Apostle was in the current Western Christian church today, he would have had a deliverance because he saw the book of Revelation and dragons. So if somebody were to have those kinds of dreams, they'll tell them that something is wrong and they're demonic. But yet everything that John the Apostle saw was God's revelation. We wouldn't have the book of Revelation. So that's a common experience. Why did it take you 3 years?
I was afraid of being led astray in the spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's also part of the mixture in the seer community. We have seers that in their desire, very strong seers. So, for example, you dream a lot, but there are seers that have all these visions while they're awake. So then they're conscious. It's not just a dream. It's this is happening while they're in school or in their office or at church. So they are desperate, in a desperate need to engage that spirituality in one form or another. And one of our episodes was divination versus, revelation, which is a very thin veil between one and the other. So knowing who to trust and how to, we have to use that discernment. We need to have that what is the Holy Spirit saying about the person you're engaging with, because we can be polluted very, very quickly. What would you say was the thing that helped you understand these dreams? What was the thing that helped you the most? How would you describe?
I think it was me calling you, because I kept thinking that my dreams were future.
Mhm.
So I kept waiting for it to happen. I
Yeah.
kept thinking, oh, is this going to happen yet? But then when I was able to talk to you and you helped me interpret my dreams, because my filter, I still needed some healing so that my filter could interpret the dream correctly. Then I started to understand, like, oh my gosh, these dreams are for the present. And these dreams are actually healing dreams because they're exposing mindsets
Yeah.
that, false mindsets. I
Yeah.
didn't understand that.
Can you share a specific dream that helped you with that? I can think of one, but I want you to come up with one. See which one you like.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, I had a dream and I was at church and I was late to church. And when I got into the church, the pastor was there and there was a buffet. There was a buffet table and all the food was gone. And I thought to myself, darn, I shouldn't have waited. I should have been there on time. I missed it. So for gosh, about 2 or 3 years, I kept telling myself, you better stay here at this church. You better, um, you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss out on the food. And then, and then when I called you, when you interpreted it for me, I couldn't believe what was going on.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Well,
That
so
was
let
the
me ask you a
start of it
question.
all.
Originally, when you had that dream, what were your first thoughts? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna miss out.
If I don't do the right thing, if I don't do what God's telling me to do, I'm going to miss it.
Okay, okay. What changed? What gave you a different perspective? Yeah, I interpreted the dream, but what happened in your brain? If you want to share how we got to the interpretation, or what happened to you that let you see, because you didn't have to believe me. That's what I'm trying to get to the people that
Oh,
are watching, to for
okay.
them to
Well,
understand that eventually there's something that resonates inside of us when the interpretation comes from God, I guess, or we understand what God's saying.
well, what was happening with me is I had a religious mindset. So everything I heard in church, when I read the Bible every day, I was in the Word. Um, but my filter, it had a religious filter on it. So it was very much performance based. You better do the right thing or God's going to punish you, or I I didn't know I had one. And so I was very performance based. Even like, yeah, it was
You have
rough.
to be a good girl in order to get to the buffet.
It was tough. And then but because I already had the Bible knowledge, when you explained it to me, it just unlocked, it just exposed this mindset that I had. So do you remember what you told me?
I mean,
You asked me like one question and then all of a sudden it all made sense. And you
I don't.
said,
Do you remember it?
I
Share it.
do, yeah, of course I do. So when I told you, like, he said, you just said, okay, there's a buffet and God ran out of food. And then you said, does God run out of food? I said, no, no, he wouldn't run out of food.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh. And then I realized, and then you helped me understand, like, yeah, you're not going to be fed at church. There's no food there for you. Maybe there are for other people, but not for you. The food is run out. And then
I
I even had a dream after that.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So the other thing is, because yeah, in that case, yeah, I was there. But the beauty of it is you knew the word. So one thing that is important for seers, in order for you to not cross that veil of divination or engaging with somebody who is not of the Lord, okay? Because there's a lot, and sometimes I myself can interpret. I don't know. I do it because the Holy Spirit does it for me. I follow that verse in Daniel that says he had an excellent spirit, and that's my prayer, that I'm able to see it from God's wisdom. I don't have a book to interpret the dream, but the logical thing is if you know the word and you know God, then it's not difficult.
No,
So
I would disagree with you on that one.
you would.
I would, because I knew the word. I went to Bible study for 20
Yeah,
years.
but you have religion.
I know, but I knew the word, but I didn't know God.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You need to know God. So a lot of the time is that perspective. To me, he's never going to put you in a buffet when there is no food. That's unacceptable. My God is abundant. And he fed 5,000, so he can feed me too. And he only had a little bit of food. But the other thing I wanted to say, you said you had other dreams. Okay, so in that moment, I only tapped, okay, with that spirit, and he unlocked something. So great. But there were many other dreams that will always direct you to that performance based or black and white thinking, where you wouldn't allow the Lord to flow as he wanted through you.
Yeah, I couldn't because I was too locked up.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to tell the audience, those that are listening to us, one dream that was unlocked for her really changed a whole mindset, you know, which has allowed her to now see a lot of the challenges that she has, and I'm speaking for her, um, to evaluate her life with new lenses. It says you're a seer, so you're seeing the world from God's perspective, not from the church perspective, which is very different depending on what church you go to. You know, there are churches that are very performance driven, or and that's one of the things that I see the next generation walking away from. You know, they're really struggling with the fact that I don't want that Jesus. That's a Jesus where there's not enough food in the buffet. You know, we can go somewhere else because witchcraft and divination out the new age community out there will feed you. There's plenty of food for everybody. So, you know, so that next generation will go eat at the wrong buffet, you know, if they were to be in a structure like that. Now, one thing is, I wanted to ask you, what do you think are the biggest challenges that you've had in your life, knowing that you have these dreams and knowing they're from God? What would you say was the biggest challenge you face, as you were growing up, or as an adult, or as a church person?
It was the church. It was as a church person,
Yeah.
because they didn't understand. I didn't understand. They didn't understand, and it just caused more confusion. So I knew they were from God, but it really distorted my perception of God.
Hmm.
I thought he was a harsh taskmaster. I thought he was punishing. I was constantly fearful that I wasn't gonna do what he was telling me to do in the dream. I just, yeah, it was pretty rough.
Yeah. So what has changed now? You've gone through all these other dreams, because by the way, people, she can dream. She has dreams almost every day, I think. Because I'm a heavy duty dreamer, but I think you dream almost daily. No?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you can dream a lot, and she can have big dreams. I dream a lot, but may not even remember them. And they're very specific for me. My dream life has shifted. But for you, you're in that place where now the dreams, you've accepted them, you are interpreting them, you're taking notes, you remember them. How do you think that has benefited you now that you're looking at your dream life differently?
well, I'm now interpreting them most likely that they're about me.
Yeah.
I'm understanding that a lot of them are mindsets, because there's still some healing and religious mindsets. There's lots of layers. Um, so when my dream doesn't line up with the word, I'm asking God, I'm actually confessing. I am saying I come out of agreement with thinking that way about you. I come out of agreement with it, and then there's freedom. So the dreams which seem funky, that aren't necessarily from God, for what other people have said, are actually healing dreams. Um, they're actually bringing me freedom,
Hmm.
whereas they were kind of a little bit tormenting
Yeah.
prior.
Oppressive.
But I'm willing to face the truth about what these dreams are meaning. I'm not
Even the drawers.
ignoring them. I'm really digging in and asking the Lord to show me. Um, some of them I know that I now realize I might not be able to interpret something myself because of my filter. So it causes me to come into community with healthy people that can know that those are God and interpret them with me.
Yeah.
But you're right. After you interpreting like three, three or four or
Yeah,
five,
just a few.
I can I can pretty much interpret most of the ones about me
Yeah.
myself as
No,
I
I think I'll correct you there. I think listening to your dreams regularly, you are able to interpret not just yours that are about you, but about other people. Because I know you've dreamed. So I can say I've seen her dreams go from that mindset. Because there were quite a few that referred to that religious structure, and we repeat in different symbols. But then there has been a shift, at least from what I can perceive, which is they have become more strategic. So they are about you, but it's also you in a different role. You playing a different, you being more engaged in some of the places where you are contributing it. I love the one with the measuring. She had a dream with a measuring. She was the one doing all the measuring. In this case, it's a dream that's not necessarily a corrective dream or trying to deal with the wrong thinking, but more an instructional dream. So you've had dream where you're going through something at home or something in your life or at work or whatever, and you have that dream, and the following day or the day before that's connected to whatever is happening in that location.
yes, I lost the visual. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
All right.
You're
Yeah,
still there.
I actually now my dreams are kind of instructing me as to my role. They are very strategic, and I don't even think I can proceed where God is calling me without already pre knowing what it is that he's saying
Correct.
in the role that I have, if that makes sense. So
Yes.
that's that's
Can you
fun.
see me? Talking about a seer who just lost her view. So can you see me?
I can now.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that's one thing. That's in a very short period of time. Like after you dealt. By the way, one thing I should tell the audience is I didn't do anything. I didn't do a deliverance for her. I didn't do anything interventional. I didn't do anything. All I did was what I thought what the dream meant. And by the way, I asked the viewers always go to God first, because we don't want to become dependent on a person or a ministry. And I've always said I'll put myself out of work, because the goal is that there is a relation. This gift to me is one of the most intimate gifts, because you're seeing the mysteries God is downloading to you. So of course the enemy wants to corrupt them to keep you fluffy or horizontal. But the Lord is saying, no, we're going to deal you and I. And I'm going to show you things I'm not showing anybody else, just you in your bed. That's how intimate it is. So it becomes a tool of intimacy, really, with the Lord. So for a person to become the substitute of that, uh, that's an error. So a lot of ministries, want to keep the person hooked so we can get paid or whatever. To me, that's an error. uh, Number one. Number two, equipping the person, because there will be a day that you're going to have to do it by yourself. There's a day when you have to sort out the strategies God is downloading to you, and it's already happening to you. And all that happened was a shift in your mindset. So you didn't have to go through the laying of hands and the whole. Not that I'm against it. I'm not that I'm against deliverance or anything like that. That's necessary. But a lot of the time, the dreams are that powerful. In Job, chapter 33.
Chris, can you please do your computer?
In Job 33, we have a verse that says, "You have dreams and visions of the night to save you from the pit." So a lot of the times you don't need a deliverance. You just need like something that you have a blind spot given to you in a dream, and it breaks through, which I think is really your testimony. Of It was just through your own dreams that you discover, oh my God, I'm the one that's starving here. in a religious environment, and then that shifted your dreams to more instructional, I think more strategic. But I think also you're having now, um, because a seer is really a prophet. Now you're having that insight and wisdom while you're awake. So can you talk a little bit more about walking, understanding? You see things at work or at home where okay, God's revealing something, something's wrong, or this should not be this way, or that should be that way. So how your prophetic gift is operating now, that you're entering it in a healthier understanding.
Okay, so my prophetic gifting, I know when something's wrong. I've always known that since I was a kid. I know when something's wrong and I want to fix it, but
Hmm.
I try to fix it is the problem. But I had a dream not too long ago in how my prophetic role looks like. And in the dream, I had um, an apostolic figure saying, um, I want you to measure that and I'll order the bolt. It was like a thing. And in my dream, I interpreted it, I was like, measure something. And I thought, oh gosh, this is so nothing. Like, what am I doing? I'm like, what's going on here? Is my life that meaningless? I'm just measuring a bolt.
Here we go. The buffet just run out of food.
Yes. And then, and then when you helped me interpret it, I realized it was a big deal. That was this is right when it really started shifting. And you had told me that I got the understanding that apostle, he has the blueprint, but I'm the one that measures that. He tells me what to do. I execute it. I measure it. But I didn't realize that what seemed so insignificant to me was actually so huge.
Yes.
And I actually was able to walk it out in my natural gifting, which was business
Yes. Yes.
and managing and flipping um, an outdated business into a kingdom business,
Correct.
according to the blueprint that God gave the apostle. I was able to carry that out. But had I not had the dream
Yes.
that all I'm doing is measuring, which I hated in the dream,
Yes.
I know not to go outside of that measuring and try to build it myself or come up with a plan myself.
Yeah,
I'm
but you've
just
done a lot of that. But one thing, Zena, the other thing I want you to talk a little bit is about your prophetic gifting, because I think the other part to your role, which has been very much of like you described, apostle and prophet can build together. So having the right apostle makes all the difference for a seer. Mark and I spoke in one of the episodes. The beauty of a seer to have an apostle, that you can dump your stuff into the apostle and no longer is a burden, because as prophet and seers, we do see what's right, what's wrong, what doesn't work, who's has problems, who's got, I recently had a dream with somebody that I was trying to partner with something. And, all of a sudden it's like, okay, that's not it, so it really saves you from making a deal you shouldn't make, you know but a lot of the times they're not even about us, they're about something else, about that person or so on. So having someone in an apostolic role doesn't mean above you, but meaning they can steward the revelation. It really makes a huge difference for the seer, because it allows the seer to rest knowing somebody heard me, somebody saw the dream, somebody knows what to do with this. I'm good. So I think the biggest um, pressure a seer can feel is having this revelation that something is wrong or something is coming, because in your case, you're entering into that phase that's more strategic, where you're seeing now the future coming in your dreams, and it will get bigger, I'm sure, because the dreams just get better and more targeted, but there are seers out there that are seeing what's coming, let's say with food, with finances, with even investments. You have seers that can actually see specifics, and they wake up and say, oh my gosh, I see the United States this and that and the other thing. Having an apostle to actually acknowledge and listen, you know becomes a huge Ephesians 2:10 says, apostle and prophet with Jesus the cornerstone are the ideal foundation, to quote the Passion Translation. It's almost as if you take that and couple it with an apostle, put Jesus on top, and you have an amazing foundation to walk on. But that allows the seer to release that revelation and not having to carry the burden. Oh my God, we're all going to die. Who do I tell? Because I think that's where the torment comes.
Yeah.
The torment comes from, I don't have anybody to tell. Who can I share that everybody's going to die?
Or you think you're crazy. You're thinking either I have a prophetic gifting or I'm crazy. There's no in between.
Yes.
And everybody's telling you, I don't think so.
Yes. And that's one, we talk about the profile of a seer. Most of them are very fidgety, very anxious. Nothing's worked. I'm guilty. In our episode 1, for those that would like to go back and watch it, there are criterias of this. You can tell when somebody is a seer, because they have this they're either very withdrawn, almost autistic. I'm not going to talk. I have no emotions. I know I don't want anybody to know. Or they become really restless. Some of them don't sleep good. The sleep pattern gets thrown off because they're awakened by these nightmares that they don't understand. So, it creates a pattern of behavior, which affects their lives and their quality of life and their sleep, and food. Some develop even reactions to food because they're always nervous. They have a nervous stomach. They're not happy, So then they control their food, control their environment, trying to survive. But I think one of the solutions to that is, can we find that apostolic support or that mentor support that can carry with you the understanding of it, but also where is the target here? Like you said, you always try to fix it. You see it and then you try to fix it. But that's not your job. Your job is to take it and hand it to the person that's supposed to fix it.
Well, I think in my case, I was taught to pray hard enough.
I know.
Or you're not praying or fast or.
Well, there is a buffet and there was no food.
To perform until it happens. And if it doesn't, you
have to make it happen
or something.
Yeah, you have to make it work. And again, that is the, in some of the trainings that I do, taking the prophet, because there is that prophet that can't help it but has to prophesy. They are, again, it's a gift that's very much vertical in connection with the Lord. You are a mouthpiece for God. Okay, so everything that comes to you, God's saying, this is what I'm saying. Okay, so a lot of the time it's going to get you in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times people are not going to like you. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time the church doesn't want to hear it. So then we become very much rejected. But also, since we're not heard, we want to make sure that it happens. Okay, I said it, so hopefully it comes and happens. So in that effort, that's why I distinguish divination from revelation. A lot of prophets are forcing, I saw that and they didn't listen to me. Well, you know what? And then they start speaking, not what God's saying, but what they're feeling. And that shifts the gift. It makes a huge impact, Also, prophets that are, I don't know, kicked out of places or told not to speak, or they're told you're not a prophet because it doesn't agree with whatever the project is, then they get cursed. And restoring that, is really essential for people with this gift. The spirit of rejection and shame. I remember in one of the episodes, Mark prayed for the spirit of shame, and anybody who's watching, that's one of the things that we have to renounce and say, no, we need to embrace our gift and see the value of it and the impact that we have in a community when we use our gift in a healthy way, you know. So now one thing, Sina, I wanted to ask you is advices that you have for people that are watching.
Boy, I would say,
Wisdom you've gained,
what's that?
the wisdom that you have gained. What would you share? You got somebody new coming to you. What would you tell them? And they're tormented with their dreams.
I guess I would say just pray to God, keep pressing forward, trust Him as you pray that He will guide you. Listen to yourself. Don't let people talk you out of what it is that you know to be true, and just keep on trying to find that one person that'll walk with you.
Yeah.
And then the next, and the next. And in your healing journey, for me, it just seems like He provided the right person at the right time for what I needed at the moment. And eventually I came in touch with Malvina and started to understand my gift. And I also have a pastor who has helped me understand relationship. He's very relational. Um, he works with homeless, and so he's really there for people, the messy people that can't be fixed. So I've watched that. I've watched how to stick with it and love people that are different than myself.
Correct.
Just
Yeah. So
not
you
running
bring
away.
a good point. So you found somebody who actually care. A
Yes.
lot of the times they don't necessarily can help you interpret your dreams, but you have someone that actually sees you
Yeah, he
as
saw me correctly. He
he
sees
saw
me
you
correctly.
correctly. Correct. So that's important for a seer, no pun intended, to be seen because we don't exist. Okay, everybody rejects you. We don't make any sense. No one wants to hear what you have to say. Um,
You're a
everybody's talking about something.
troublemaker.
What's that?
You're a troublemaker.
Exactly. You're rocking the boat. You make too much noise. That's my problem. I'm too loud, obnoxious. So that really gets in the way of who you are. Because we're speaking, we're not seeing ourselves through God's eyes.
You're
You know,
thinking that's God's eyes because the church is doing that to
yeah,
you.
I
It
mean, it's
really distorts your
representation.
perception of God. It's a
Yes,
horrible thing.
absolutely. So for the seers out there, my prayer is that they get to understand how God sees them. That's where identity becomes really important, especially finding that father figure or that person that actually sees you in spite of what everybody else says or feels about you, because it really can save your life. I believe it can really, really uh, uh, bring you back to life, because it's that person knows you exist. And I think from what you described, your pastor was that figure. uh, he was able to see your value, what you brought to the table, and I'm sure your dreams have helped you have the conversation with him, and he acknowledges, so having that figure, um, it, whoever it is that you can trust, and that they're not necessarily expecting you to be in a certain way, but they're accepting you the way you are. I speak life over you too. Sometimes we need a person that can say, you're gifted. I need what you have.
Yeah, and
Um,
I speak life into him.
exactly.
He doesn't see it.
It's a mutual thing. It's very beautiful. And the other thing that now that we're talking about that, I would like to talk a little bit about the next generation. Um, you and I have a passion for that youth which I believe is a lot like the Joel 2 generation. I'm going to pour down my spirit on all flesh. And, your children will have, dreams and visions. It talks about, Mark always jokes about the age range, but it is that verse in Joel 2 that talks about that pouring of the spirit that doesn't, this is in all flesh, doesn't have like you have to be saved to have this dream, or you have to hear from Jesus. No, it's the Holy Spirit pours it out. And what we've experienced, and I think you can talk a little bit about that, since you have young children or younger generation in the 20s. um, they already see, they've already, they're seeing, they're dreaming, and like you probably have a filter that's a little bit distorted. And I believe that there is no junior Holy Spirit, so they probably are getting super duper downloads of what's happening or what's going to happen. So, what are your thoughts on seeing that generation? Do you have access to that generation? What are your desires for that generation? What would you say could help them, knowing what you know about you?
Um,
I know it's
well,
a loaded question, but
um, I homeschooled my children. They were raised in church. We were in the Word every day. I'm grateful for it that I laid that foundation of the Word. But I know that I was not really knowing who God was. So I know that there's some religious layers there that, um, yeah. So um, they do have beautiful hearts. I I tried to fix them. If I could do it all over again, I would. But oh well.
no, God had a plan.
I just want to now, I just want to accept them where they're at and love them just like my pastor did me. When I came across his path, I was a bit of a mess, and I had a good role model
Yeah,
of somebody who sticks with people and their mess. And I want to be that for my kids. I want to model what that looks like. I actually see my friends who were raised homeschool as homeschoolers, did Bible school and everything. I actually, and maybe don't go to church, but I see them having beautiful hearts, sticking with people in their mess. And to me, that's God. That is a good father that never abandons you when you're at your lowest.
yeah,
It's much more real to me than quoting Bible verses or going on a mission trip or serving in BBS. To me, um, having that heart that sticks with somebody, to me looks like God. That to
yeah.
me is authentic. And even though they're not going to church, or maybe they're not behaving the way that, people would like them to behave, I know they know the Lord. I know they have beautiful hearts. They just don't know where to go with it.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
my heart is to, I don't know how, but I would like to see God make a place for those kinds of kids.
Okay. Yeah. And one thing is, in the same way you were not understood or acknowledged, I think a lot of this younger generation has that. A lot of them come from Christian families. They become prodigals because they may be in church and see through certain things. Like I said, they see the right and the wrong. They have no filters. They have no veil. They just see. And a lot of the time they're like, if Jesus is that, I don't want to be part of that. So parents see them as religious, not as religious, as rebellious, I should say.
Or not walking with the Lord is
They're
what
not walking with the Lord because they're not in youth group. They're not
they're
walking
not
with the
doing
Lord.
what I want them, I'm expecting them to do.
Exactly. And we are just trying to box them in our structure, or religious structure, whatever that is. So, one of the things that I've seen as like people reach out to me and bring their children and see that, is a lot of the times the kids, there's nothing wrong with the kid. The issue is mom and dad are too religious, and the kid can't figure out where I see God here, but they see God in this structure. So there is a disconnect of the generations when it comes on how they see God. Because they've already seen. So one of the episodes we did was raising a seer. There are challenges for parents of seeing kids that an average parent won't have. And that's one of the things that I love to remind when those kids come to me is I can help the kid interpret things like I did with you. That's an easy task. That's a two sessions, easy. But the hardest thing is to tell the parent there's nothing wrong with your child. You're just too religious. That your child is seeing your religiosity. Your child is seeing a church structure that is not acceptable. A Jesus that doesn't fit, that won't tolerate, so that creates conflict for them, especially at a very young age. There's a gap between the parent and the child. And they see, for me personally, I can share my testimony. I think I shared it in that episode, was the hypocrisy of a Christian community that I tried to put my children in, and they used to tell me, wow, we'd rather be out there in the world because at least we know everything is bad out there. Here they're telling us this is what's good, but it doesn't look good. So it became a big conflict, and I knew the decision I made with them. I didn't have the luxury of homeschooling. I don't think I could have done it at the time. I didn't know enough, but I understood that the choices I made for my children were going to determine their walk in the future with the Lord, because it was make it or break it. They will see me. They will see through me in my dysfunction. I am very grateful today that I was able to catch it on time, and they have taught me, which is a lot of the tools that I use for the younger ones. But there is a huge generation out there in need. I believe, and if you could do anything with them, what would you do?
I think I would just be there for them.
Yeah, I know you'll do more than that, though.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and she and I have had this conversation, so I know there's more to her answer. But one of the things we've discussed is, okay, they're seers, they can see. Okay, they know where Jesus is, they know what's right, they know what's wrong. But a lot of the time, they lack tools to have a semi-normal life. I don't think a seer can have a normal life defined by the world. A person that's constantly is having visions and dreams at night doesn't sleep to get up at 6. So a lot of the times having a job becomes a challenge for a seer that's not disciplined. So I do believe that they need to be equipped to be able to function. So a lot of kids don't know what to do with their lives. The things that they see, they know, they doing the traditional thing of college and this and that and the other thing may not work. That's an American dream. God works outside of those boundaries. So I think training them, you and I have talked about, equipping them to be able to have a decent job, to learn skills, to do business, to learn different things, but yet don't let go of that gift, of that, because that gift is what helps you today to do good business.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just a spiritual thing you use in church. This is what allows you to know the steps you need to take and the strategies you need to implement to get them right.
Mm-hmm.
So taking these kids to say, okay, you're already ahead of the game because you already see beyond, the natural. Uh, Amazing dreams and gifts and things you see prophetically. Can we use that to build a business? Can we use that to build, I don't know, a new invention or something new? What is God showing them? You know?
For
Go ahead.
me, I think I think unpeeling the religion and the fear of man so that you even know who you are,
Yes, identity.
who so you can even like walk out the call on your life.
Yes,
Just for a church kid, like how do you be yourself without trying to mold yourself into a religious model or that's
yes.
yeah.
So let me challenge you. Do you think that the current institutions are not doing it from
Not
your
for
experience?
most. I think for most, no.
No.
For some, maybe, but a
I'm
lot.
poking you to see what you say. No, because I've seen it. I interact with enough youth to tell you there's a big gap, you know, on their identity. So a lot of them know Jesus, but they don't know who they are. So
Hmm.
then their Jesus gets shaped depending on which side of the kaleidoscope is being put in front of them. So, like you at the beginning, you only saw it through the performance religious. You only saw yourself through the buffet, that
Well,
religious.
part of it too, what I learned was the not so great emotions of fear, anger, that I thought that I wasn't supposed to have those things or I didn't have enough faith.
Correct.
So I don't know if that's what was really being taught, but that's certainly how I perceived what was being said. And
Yeah.
so I stuffed my feelings. And and I'm a feeler. Like that's how I see. But
Yes.
I was taught not to, that those feelings were negative, and so I wouldn't let myself have them.
Yes.
So how would I know who I am if I can't even allow myself to
To be.
feel my own emotions?
And a lot of seers are told because you feel you're weak. So for example, for me, I was a crybaby, but to cry was a sign of weakness. Yeah, I have a gift of mercy, and it would be, like I feel everything that's going on, and I wanted to cry, and that was like, no, man up. That was like the mo in my house. Like, we don't cry, just put up with it and go do what you need to do. I'm from a Latino background, so we kind of man up mentality.
Well, I'm an evangelical background.
Yeah, it's no different. So, the thing is, they shut down your feelers, your feeling emotions. And actually, that was one of the things for me personally, I had to restore, because I was told that, you're just a crybaby. But what I come to understand is, a lot of times I carry the heart of God, and he is crying, and he's seeing the brokenness in the person, but no one shows their true colors. So, like you said, they don't know who they are because they're being told that's not acceptable, that feeling emotion not acceptable. I was on a trip. I can share this testimony. And I was traveling, and I was in the car, and as they were driving me, I could feel in my head, I had this dizzy spell of, when we were crossing from one town to another. Like, I could tell you, okay, we just cross Merced. I could draw the map in my head, and I'm not looking at signs or anything. I just knew, oh, it's all here. And because I do see that way, it's very physical. I feel like I'm gonna throw up, and whatever. And in the old days, my mother considered it a morning sickness. It's like, or not a morning sickness, a motion sickness, I should say. I wasn't pregnant. A motion sickness. So for her, it was, I couldn't be in a car and be normal. So that was a problem for my family, that I was always dizzy and ready to throw up. But I was just feeling the places where I was at. So that's one of the things that I think we need to encourage this next generation, that a lot of these things, when done in a healthy way, you don't own them, but you use them in order to effectively see what God is revealing to you.
And
So,
you talk about it,
correct.
and you surround in a community. You find
Yes.
a community and you talk about
And you don't hide behind, the scenes, and and say, oh no, that's just, because sometimes we don't want people to know we're feeling that way. We're embarrassed. There's shame. I think shame it's an emotion that follows us around. So I think that those are some of the things that for the younger generation, we have to develop ways in which they feel free to share what they're feeling, but also, or seeing, also be able to find a safe place to share
Hmm.
what it is they're seeing and put it in context. Because when you put it in context, it makes all the difference, you know. But I know we're getting to the end of the show. I want to thank Zena for being with me, and I do know that there is a lot more to come um, for you, Zena. I know there's so much more that God has in store for you. Because as we get well, then we're really powerful weapons in the hands of God. Because think about that. We can actually see before things happen. It's amazing. And I do believe this is something for end time. So I want to encourage our audience to, like Zena explained today, seek the Lord because He's the one with the right answer and the right interpretation. Ask the Lord to give you a person that you can trust, a mentor, an apostle. Some, not the apostle that we call it apostle in the church, but a true apostolic person that can see you for who you are, that can steward your gift properly. And invest in yourself, invest in who you are, in your identity, discovering who you are and why you're here, what's your purpose, what's your gifting. Because without that, it's a tough thing it's a tough walk. And I believe end times are coming and things are going to get darker and harder, but we are the answer to see and plan ahead of time, so we are not necessarily at a loss. So I want to encourage the audience to pray, to ask for support, for trust. We are a resource. Mark will be back in our next episode. I can't wait to see how the Fiji trip is going. And Sina, thank you so very much for being with me today. And if anybody, we didn't get a lot of people connected today, but I do know a lot of people will watch the episode at a later time. So feel free to comment, feel free to share your thoughts. And if you have any questions, you can always post your question. Somehow we'll get back to you, I'm sure. And thank you, Sina. Thank you to Chris, who's in the background running everything for us. And I think we're going to be seeing you guys in 2 weeks is our next episode. And we are going to be talking. I'm going to take a look here before we go. We will be talking. We already did dreams and visions, but the next time we're going to talk a little bit about special kids, special needs, and rebellious kids that find themselves with this gift and nothing to do. So we touch on some of those things this time. So for next time, we are going to cover some of those topics. Healing of the seer is really an important topic. And Sina, thank you so much for being vulnerable today and sharing your experiences and some of your dreams because they're very intimate. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. So um, I'm grateful. I think that's what I have for today. I know Chris will probably be one saying goodbye for us. So I am very grateful for all of you. I'm sending blessings and pray that this is a great season for you as we learn to see in the spirit what God is showing us. So thank you very much. And we'll see you in 2 weeks, which I think is what is July. Sorry, I'm getting my calendar here. We are next time is, oh, I can't get my calendar. July 20th. So we'll be back with our next episode. So I am saying goodbye, and I let Chris play our goodbye song. Thank you, Zena. I love
Thank
you,
you, Malvina.
and thank you for taking your time. So we'll